What's going on, y'all? Chuck Nunface here. Let's go ahead and talk autos real quick. So I have a selection of autos from a couple of well-known companies right here. So we have the Kershaw. This is the Launch 16 Tanto in CPM M4. So there's one right there. And then we have the Microtech Brachial in M390. That's a Bastinelli designed collaboration. And then, of course, we have the ProTech TR4, which is clearly the biggest of the three. And I'll be doing a review of this one pretty soon. This one is in Magna Cut. So the reason I kind of wanted to go over this is these are three American companies. I mean, Kershaw does do some outsourcing, and they have a foreign produced line and everything else. But they are an American company, primarily, you know, with ZT and KIA Group and everything else. And then, of course, Microtech is, well, they've also outsourced. But I kind of get the sense that with Microtech, their outsourcing is coming to a close, because if you look at their Chinese knives made by Reich, they're all on sale right now. So I have a feeling that that is going to be going to the wayside. But I could be wrong. You know, they seem to be doing okay with just their U.S. produced knives. So, and then, of course, ProTech, which is, as far as I know, always been a 100% USA-made company and everything else. And so these are three knives that definitely, there are three different kind of price points, and three different quality levels. One is clearly, you know, a quality difference, and then the other two are kind of up for debate. So basically, when we're looking at construction, these are all aluminum handled. All three of these have aluminum handles. All three have milling in them. All three have steels that would be considered super steels in M4, CPM M4, CPM Magna Cut, and M390, of course. And, you know, they're all very reputable companies. There are different kind of levels to this, though, however. And when we're kind of taking a look at everything else, you know, at the entry level of the auto market would be, of course, the Kershaw. And then we would be stepping up to the ProTech. But it's kind of debatable. ProTech, Microtech, they're getting closer and closer, but Microtech would be kind of more of the ultra premium version of these autos and everything else. But we're kind of getting, when we talk about materials and everything else, we're kind of getting pretty close between Microtech and Kershaw. From an action standpoint, all are very snappy. All are very snappy. The Kershaw, while snappy, is clearly the lightest and the softest firing of, ooh, whoops. Probably shouldn't have done that. All's well that ends well. Whoops, kind of hit one knife with the other knife while I was opening it up, but no harm, no folly, everything's fine. Yeah, Kershaw is kind of the weakest firing one of the three. And then, so it would be lightest firing, second, and then hardest firing. I mean, the Microtechs, gosh, these are so hard firing, especially the Brachial. I mean, the Brachial is just like, it's kind of stupid hard firing. I mean, I have a Stitch Auto also, and this fires really hard. However, the Brachial just fires stupid hard. I mean, it really is. It's kind of ridiculous how hard this knife fires. And I think it's because, my theory at least, is the Stitch and the Brachial use the same spring. And as you can see with these two knives right here, this is a much heavier knife. I mean, the blade itself is much heavier. It's bigger, it's heavier than, say, the Brachial. It's thicker, it's bigger in all the dimensions than the Brachial is. And so this thing just fires super hard. And that's kind of the reason I got this knife, was just because, I don't know, I was on a side opening auto kick, and I was talking to my buddy Killer Knives. And, you know, he says no knife fires as hard. And I think I was comparing, I made the statement when I had a ProTech, the Les George Rockeye. And I said, you know, they just make a really nice hard firing side opening auto. And he was like, yeah, they do, but Microtech Brachial is the hardest firing one there is. And so, you know what? I ended up picking one up, and he was right. This thing is just stupid hard firing. So yeah, so certainly in terms of, you know, firing, these two this is noticeably harder firing than this, and this of course is too. But they're all really pretty close. Like, it's not a huge difference between these two right here. They definitely fire out with authority. And certainly the Kershaw, it's no slouch. I mean, it fires out no problem, but it's the lightest one of the three. Overall quality, I would have to say, you know, once again, I'm going to rank 1, and then it's tied 2 and 3 as far as quality goes. It's tied in 2 rather, as far as quality goes. I mean, these are all rock solid. There's no play or any wiggle or anything like that in the closed position. The Kershaw, however, does have a little, it's got some slop right there. It's just not as tightly made overall. The tolerances aren't tight. You know, the plunge is not, you know, as positive and everything else. And this one actually did have kind of a creaky, sticky plunge when I first got it. I mean, it broke in, but it definitely wasn't as solid feeling as these two right here. And you can kind of see when you look, maybe you can see that in there, that post is really thin. That plunger post, it's really thin. And it's not that thin, and I won't be able to really show it on these because they're hidden. I think on both of these. Yeah, they're hidden on both of these. Well, this one, you can actually see it. You can see how beefy that plunger is right there. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's almost as big as the actual tang, the lock itself, the blade stop inside the tang of the knife. So yeah, I mean, it's probably, I haven't opened this one up, but it's probably somewhere in between these two. I haven't opened this one up. So yeah, materials, I think they're all equal. I mean, as far as, you know, how hard they fire, I think the Kershaw is probably the weakest of the three. You know, and then ProTech and then Microtech. And then, of course, you know, quality construction, I would probably also have to give the nod to these two over Kershaw. But I mean, of course, there's the price difference too. I mean, this one can be had right now for $120, $130. I don't know exactly. But you can get one of these on sale fairly easily. I mean, I got this on sale. I don't remember what I paid, but it wasn't that much. These are running about $360 right now. So the TR4 has typically been about a $250 knife. However, these are now redesigned, but they also have, you know, it's got MagnaCut, and, you know, I mean, 154 cm to MagnaCut. I did talk with the guys at ProTech, somebody over at ProTech. We've been talking on Instagram and everything else. And, you know, they run their MagnaCut, you know, at 63 HRC, not 61 to 63, not 59 to 60, something like that. They run it at 63. So they bring it up to 64, 65 in the cryo, or the heat treat, and then cryo temper it and everything else. And they bring it down to 63, which is supposed to be ideal for MagnaCut. I will say this with the ProTech, and I'll cover this more a little bit with my actual review, is ProTech, one of their weak spots, in my opinion, has always been their edge, their final sharpening. Sometimes their grind, but definitely their final sharpening. And they've actually, this edge is held up really well. They've sharpened it very well. It's really sharp, and they've done a great job with it too. So kudos to ProTech on that. And then, of course, you know, overall construction on Microtech, I mean, it's the most expensive. I think this one runs about $400, something like that, $425 maybe. I'm not 100% sure. And I don't know if they're going to end up changing the steel. If they do another run of these, go to that M390 MK and everything else. But there is a bit of a micro tax instead of Microtech on there. But yeah, these are going to be the most expensive. So, but the ProTech used to be a solid middle of the road choice. They are creeping up in price when you're getting the more premium materials. I will say this, however, I've been very hesitant to embrace MagnaCut on this channel, but from talking to ProTech, sounds like they're doing the right thing. And also, not only that, it has performed well for the amount that I've used it. I haven't used it, you know, extremely extensively, but more on that when I actually do the review on this knife. So yeah, kind of taking a final look at things right here. You have some choices, you know, with auto knives and American-made auto knives and everything else, and you really can't go wrong with any of these. ProTech still has some, Kershaw is going to have always some solid budget choices with their launch series. And you really can't go wrong. I mean, this is CPM M4, great steel right there. It's coated, so if corrosion resistance is a concern for you, you've got that coated blade on there. This has been a nice one for me. I've used this quite a bit for some kind of just tough projects. So the launch series is out there. There's tons. They're on like launch 18, 19, something like that now. So there's tons of autos from Kershaw that you can do if you wanted to do full auto as opposed to assisted or fully manual. ProTech, you've got a lot to choose from. They offer a lot in different steels, and from CPM 154, where you can probably get some more budget conscious ones, up to S35, CPM D2, MagnaCut, and beyond. They're doing other stuff as well. So ProTech is going to be, they've got something for everybody if you like ProTech. ProTech, I will say this too, I've never kept a ProTech long term. I always end up selling it for one reason or another, but I've also never been disappointed in a ProTech. They're always really nice. And then of course, Microtech, probably got the most famous reputation behind them and everything else. And it is delivering quite a bit for your price. I think, however, if you're just looking for a good, solid side opening auto, you don't care about maybe some really cool, snazzy Microtech designs, I think you can be very, 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 very happy with ProTech. You can certainly do a lot worse than them. So that's going to do it for me. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Give me a follow on Instagram at Chuck_Nunface. Appreciate all of y'all who have already subbed to the channel. Definitely a great thing, and I appreciate all of you very, 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 very much. And that will do it for me. Stay tuned for the next one. Peace.